Hey everyone, welcome to A Nice Chianti. Oh, for fuck's sake, we're just going to leave that in. It doesn't matter. A Nice Chianti podcast. Set the expectations right from the start. I can't even get the podcast name right. This is sort of a non-episode or a special episode, maybe. This is a little pre-drinks, and I'm here with my regular co-host, Zoe, the wonderful Zoe. Hello, Zoe.
Hello. I'm not drunk yet, so that's a good start.
Very, very good start. Neither am I. I haven't even opened my bottle. But we also have a very, very special guest. It's so exciting. Mr. Ben Errington is here. Hello, Ben.
Hey, woo! Hello. Hello. How's it going, guys?
I'm going to use that just hello. I don't know if you can hear, but I am pouring my drink now. Since you guys are already starting, do you want to go around and what are you guys drinking for everyone listening and watching at home?
Go on, Ben.
So I'm starting off with a rum and coke. I can't remember what rum it is, but it had like a wax seal, so I'm assuming it's good.
Oh,
that's
It had like a wax seal on like a paper bottle, so it's good stuff. Someone sent that to me. And then in terms of red, I'm drinking Red Knot, Grenache, Shiraz. So it's a bit of a blend going on. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Oh, hold on. Yours is Red Knot, did you say?
Yeah.
Mine is Tangled Knot.
Oh, all the
what
knots.
does that mean?
I don't know.
What does it even mean?
Well, I'm
A
drinking.
tangled knot to a red knot, I think.
I've gone for the classic. I've got another bottle of Chianti because,
On brand.
I always like to be on brand.
Well, cheers, everyone. It is very, very good to
Cheers.
see you.
Cheers. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, so I should
Yeah.
explain what tonight is. So there's obviously we've got Ben as a special guest. We may have additional special guests before the episode is out. We're not 100% sure. So tonight we are going to be joining Ben and his co-host Luke on the Horror Hangout podcast, Hawk and Cleaver's Horror Hangout. I'm sure we've mentioned it before on the podcast, and anyone who follows me at least will know about it because I've been on the show before talking about Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
The 1978 version. You guys called us out on social media. You challenged us.
Yeah, I think we did, didn't we? Yeah, we just got cocky. I think we're just off the back of beating the Trash Tapes guys, and they're in the quiz, in the big fat quiz that we usually do. Like I think this is number 4 that we're gonna do. And we were like, what other podcast duos that are out there want to try and take the crown? Call them out on social media, see what they got to say for themselves. And that's what we did.
Yeah, and I guess we accepted, and I'm really not feeling confident. So
Don't show them your fear, Zoe. Don't let them see it.
well, the more I drink, the fear subsides. So,
I would be worried if I was feeling confident going into it. Every time I've gone into it, I've been convinced that I'm going to be awful. And I've already experienced the worst possible round ever, which is where I got no questions right and I froze after almost every question. So I feel like I've experienced the lowest of the low when it comes to the quiz. So now I'm ready to experience the highest of the high. Now, the way Andy usually does it as well, that even if you do badly, there's a way to like redeem yourself come the end. So It's almost like it's not always about the pressure of the questions. There's a particular round towards the end where you can, it depends how brave you are, but you can possibly redeem yourself.
that sounds bloody terrifying.
I'm
I don't
saying
like it.
I'm saying that if Andy is going to do, I'm assuming he's going to do the same sort of types of rounds, and that's how he usually ends the quizzes. But there have been times in the past where I've been I've completely lost. There's no way back from this, and then because of the final round, I've ended up winning. So there's hope for everybody involved.
It's
I like this.
all to play for. Yeah, so this is we should probably explain that it is a quiz, like an annual quiz that you guys do on the podcast, and it started out just the two of you, Luke against you, Ben. So the two hosts against one another, with Andy coming in as the resident quizmaster, and then you started introducing other.
And then we did like a freeway. We did like a freeway.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello. We did a freeway quiz. Oh, Jesus Christ. We did a freeway quiz, which was also fun. But then I think we realised that maybe the format of the quiz now should be us versus other podcasts, because then that element of competitiveness really does come out then.
Yeah, are you competitive, Zoe? I think you must be, right?
It depends on the setting, and it depends on my mood. I mean, one time I did play Monopoly until 5 a.m. because I was like, fuck off, am I losing this? And then there's other times, like the other week where we played Jenga, and I just accepted that I was far more drunk than everyone else. And I was like, I'm going to sabotage myself so that everyone has a good time. So,
Well,
that was totally what I was doing. I was not just losing.
So we don't know whether tonight we are going to be quizzing until 5 a.m. or Zoe is just going to be purposefully.
It could be either. She's like, Andy, another round, Andy.
I need more.
Give me more of those quiz questions. Come on.
Yeah, you guys don't know what you're letting yourself in for. Yeah, as soon as we knew that we were going to be recording tonight, me and Zoe WhatsApped each other. Or maybe we even spoke, because we've recorded 2 episodes of Chianti that haven't yet gone out in the public feed. So this will go out. Weirdly, this will go out before those do, because we'll try and make sure this episode comes out around the same time as the actual quiz, so that people can experience both the quiz and the pre-drinks. But as soon as we learned that we were going to be recording it tonight, we thought, we have to be on brand. We have to turn up drunk to this. And then we let you guys know, Ben, and then you were like, oh, I want to get drunk too. So we're all going to be on the same level, apart from Luke. And I think that Luke is tactically not joining.
Yeah, that might be.
So that he can not get drunk and race ahead of all of us.
Possibly. But, I'm not going to argue with that, because he's my teammate, so I'm not going to call him out on this podcast. I'll just say, no, is he? Nah, that doesn't sound like Luke. Surely not. Probably what he's doing.
Well, we know what happened if you guys start winning and Luke's getting them all right.
You say that. I think Luke is a bit of a dark horse when it comes to this stuff. I think he likes to sort of show that he's a bit like, I'm not really good at trivia and stuff. And then suddenly, because he's like the trivia master on the podcast as well, so he's the guy who gives me the trivia at the end of each episode. So I'd like to think a lot of that's actually gone in, like when he's researching it. Not so much with me, but it's surprising what you remember, though. I think that's one thing I will say. It's surprising what sticks in your head and what points of reference you have when you're convinced that you're just like I feel like I'm an empty vessel sometimes when it comes to retaining information.
Oh no, I feel the same.
You'll surprise yourself. As soon as those questions start firing out, you'll realize how much is in there.
I don't know about that. It's like when I go out with people, they're like, oh, you're a movie buff. What came out in this year? And I'm like, I don't think any films were released that year. And they're like, pretty sure that. And I'm like, no, I've never, ever heard of that one. Sorry. Nope, never.
I don't think I've seen any films ever. Yeah. I'm slightly worried that I'm going to be surprised by how little I remember, because I generally think I'm pretty good with years coming out and directors and stuff like that. I don't know if that's going to be the flavor of the questions that we get, but I'm sure that all of those, after this bottle of wine and just the pressure of being there on the night, which is tonight, it's all going to leave me. I'm just going to be blank. I'm sure of it.
It depends how well you do under pressure, I think, because as I'm going to refer back to what I'll say is the worst round of the podcast ever. I think it might have been the second quiz, and it was like the speed round, the quickfire round. And honestly, I got no questions right. And at the end of it, I felt my face was like all red, where I was just like, I've been humiliated. So yeah, that's the lowest. That's as bad as it can get. And that's not even that bad. So I'm sure we'll all be just fine.
Yeah, if I get humiliated, it's probably a good thing, because it will set some expectations.
You're into that, aren't you, John? Bit of humiliation.
I'm really not, just in case that suddenly gets out. That is not my thing at all. We can get into what my thing is later after I've had a couple more drinks. But no, because I think it's good to set expectations of. I don't think I'm a very good horror fan sometimes. I think there's so many horror movies that I haven't seen because I'm like, I've been to a few kind of meetup events, like cult movie meetup events, stuff like that, and inevitably what comes up is people go, "Oh, what are you into?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I'm into horror movies." But what I now have to caveat that with is I'm kind of into classic horror movies. Like a lot of new horror movies, I haven't seen so many of the big horror franchises. Like all the paranormal, I can't even remember the names of them, like Paranormal Activities and Annabelles and whatever all the currently popular horror movies are. I haven't seen any of those movies.
I think you're all right without seeing those movies. You can definitely still call yourself a horror fan if you've not seen those movies. I feel like I'm almost like the opposite of you, where before this podcast, before I did the Horror Hangout podcast, I felt like such a horror noob, and then and then I kind of like realized, oh, actually, I've seen this. I've seen loads of these, and then I realized, I think from starting the podcast, I made my transition into like a fully fledged horror fan. Whereas before I was kind of like someone I just dabbled with. But yeah, I'm almost like the opposite of you, where I always felt like I hadn't seen enough of the classics. So this podcast has like given me the opportunity to see all of those classics. Yeah.
I feel like my problem is I'm just so stuck on my like of extreme that I'm always like, do I want to watch? Because I'm a bit like you, Ben. I haven't seen maybe like a lot of the classics, like a few, but I think there's definitely some blind spots, and I'm always like, right, okay, I'm going to remedy that. I'm going to put on a classic. I'm going to, learn something. And I'm like, oh, there's this really niche film that was made on a budget of a tenner, and the effects are all done by some random person in their basement. I'm going to watch that one, thank you very much, because everyone gets their limbs chopped off. So yeah, that's my problem, but I like it that way.
Yeah, I think then, if like a really niche part of the quiz comes up and you're suddenly like, oh my god, I know absolutely everything about this and nobody else does, you'll realize.
Then I'll get my crown, which I've actually got a crown set over there ready to wear when we win.
Oh yeah.
And you say you're not confident, and you got a crown ready. No, I'm not confident. He's got a crown and a cape and a scepter ready to go.
The funny thing is, I have all of those in this room.
There we go. I know you're.
I'm not even gonna ask. I'm not even gonna ask why it's there. I'm just proud of you, Zoe, for having that confidence. We thought while we were getting drunk, we could maybe talk about, just to give this some structure. I don't know if we need any structure because we're drinking, but we thought we'd talk about movies that we've enjoyed this year. Can I be cheeky? I know it's customary to ask the guest to go first, but I really think that my first choice is going to be one that we might all talk about. Zoe, I think it's definitely on your list, and
if
I have
you're
it
taking my number one, I'm going to be fuming.
I have it sitting next to me, so I figure if we just, I think we've all seen it, and I think
I know what it is already. Yeah.
I think we're probably going to be talking about Possessor.
Yes.
Running in Cronenberg. Everyone seen this? What was everybody's thoughts about this movie? Ben, you go first. Have you seen it?
Me go first. So I saw it quite late. I saw it when there was the showing on what was it on again? What?
BFI.
BFI, yeah, that's right. There we go. See, I've already lost all information. It just all slipped out my head already. There we go. Yeah, so I'd like been waiting to see it for so long, it felt like, and it felt like everyone had seen it. And sometimes you look on Letterboxd and everyone's reviewing it, and I'm like, well, where have you seen it? Well, where have you seen it? Like that. Furious. And so I watched it, and because the screening was on like a Friday night, I think my daughter was sat just behind me watching, I think, Pitch Perfect. And I was like, whatever you do, don't turn around and look at the screen to see what I'm watching. And she was like, why? And I was just like, just don't. There were so many boobs and dicks and just everything. So I was kind of like trying to make myself as big as possible in front of the screen while she was like watching that. But yeah, I've kind of like been deliberating over my list of like favorite horror movies and favorite movies of the year, and this has always been like probably the first one I've added, just because it. You know, sometimes when you see a trailer for something, you're like, I just know I'm gonna like that, and then you're like, anticipation of that movie and you're looking forward to that movie sometimes overtakes whether you should be critical of it, and you kind of feel a bit, you're like fighting with yourself while you're watching the movie, where you're like, I do really like this, but at the same time I'm like, is it quite living up to the expectations? I got none of that with this. This was just like from the start to the finish, it just absolutely blew my mind. Like a cyberpunk techno noir thriller, gory crazy, disgusting, mad shit. And yeah, I loved it. I really did love it, and it surpassed those expectations. It's like ultra visceral, uber violent, and it's just like really cool.
Yeah, that BFI screening as well, because that was the first time I saw it. And Zoe, I know that you were one of the people who saw it quite a bit earlier than that. I think that was your second viewing, right?
Yes, and since then I've seen it again.
Yeah, I've watched it a couple of times as well. But that BFI screening was the uncut version, which is oh god, it really opens on a really violent, brutal murder, and you just know right from that scene, oh goodness, we're in for something pretty special here. Yeah,
It's just so fucking good. I mean, I'm a big fan of well, I feel like everyone knows I'm a big fan of Possessor because I haven't shut the fuck up about it since I saw it. But I really love Antiviral, which was his previous film, and that came out in like 2012, and I've been banging on about that for years. And I did show my boyfriend it recently, and he hated that and Possessor, and I was like, how long do we have left on this mortgage? Because I need out like now. He'll find that out in, I think we've got 4 years left. But yeah, so I was really, really excited to this. And a bit like you, Ben, I mean, I think it completely exceeded my expectations, and my expectations were very, very high. And I watched it the first time, and I remember like 2 days later, I was in the shower and I was like, what if someone's in my mind? And then I was just stood in the shower and I was like, oh no, I can't stop thinking about this movie. And then there was the BFI thing where I was so excited. And then Jump Cut were like, oh, do you want a screener to watch this? I know you've already seen it a few times. And I was like, yep, give me the screener. I was like, I need to watch this again. And it's one of those films that I feel like I could just put on a loop, and maybe I'd get a bit fucked up, but yeah, it's just amazing. I think it is almost perfect.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I loved it from the second I watched it. When I was watching that BFI screening, actually, my internet dropped in the middle when I was watching it, and I was just running around because we were already about an hour into the movie at that point, because unlike some of the movies that were available to watch, because the whole when we're saying BFI, it was like the London Film Festival this year, 2020. So a lot of the movies there were some in-person screenings this year, but because of COVID, a lot of them were online. And what they did was they gave you a window of time to be able to watch the movie, because, you know, there's all sorts of issues when you're delivering it to someone's home, streaming it. Maybe they're not going to be able to buffer it or whatever. So they give you a certain amount of time. But with Possessor, they only gave you the window of the movie to watch. It was like really, really tight, or the length of the movie, sorry. And yeah, my internet dropped out about an hour in, and I was frantically running around trying to get it to refresh, because
oh man,
like
of
you, I'd been waiting for so long to see it. And even, you know, from the start, I knew it was going to live up to it. You can just tell. It's kind of the same thing as, I guess, with movies and books. You can kind of tell really quickly if it's up to the standard that you were expecting, or if you're going to enjoy it. You know, there's something about the quality of the writing, or the way that it's shot, or just, you can just tell in 5 minutes if something is going to click with you or not. And this one absolutely clicked with me in the biggest possible way. And yeah, like you, Zoe, I've watched it a couple of times since. There's actually some special features on this disc that I've got because I had to import it because we don't have it over here yet.
Naughty, naughty.
No, it's good. It's good. It's a 4K disc as well, and it's uncut also. I don't know what the release is that we'll get in the UK, but I knew I needed to get it. And there's special features on here, deleted scenes that I haven't watched, so I'm going to have to do that ASAP. I knew that was going to be
Lovely.
on all of our lists, so I just thought we'd get it out of the way.
I feel like as a movie, like the concept has got so much potential, like like unknowing potential. Like, I mean, we'll probably only get one movie, and I wouldn't necessarily say it needed a sequel, but you know, just as a concept, it's rare that you see a concept that feels. I mean, it's not entirely unique, but at the same time, the way it's sort of delivered is unique.
Do you know what? It feels like it would be, thinking about it now, it would make like an amazing kind of like really short mini series in the vein of like Black Mirror or something. It's got like you wouldn't need like something really long, but maybe just like a 6-episode thing would be awesome. Or just watch the movie 6 times.
Yeah, why not? It actually kind of because there was another movie that came out this year that I was really looking forward to and really excited about. Not a horror movie, and I think I might be alone in this opinion, but Tenet came out, and I really didn't like it. And
okay, John.
I know, yeah, I know. I might be unpopular with that opinion, but I just couldn't get into it. I need to go back and revisit it, but I just didn't like it. It wasn't what I wanted it to be. And I kind of feel like this is the hyper-violent, like Chris Nolan thing that I don't know. I almost feel like if Tenet had lived up to it, that and this movie would have been a perfect double bill for a night because they both have that high concept sci-fi thing going. But Tenet just didn't live up to it for me, and Possessor absolutely did.
I think I need to watch both of these movies again because you know, I think that often helps. And they were trying to. I mean, I like Tenet, but it took me a long time for it to like click into place for me. And when it did, I was like, okay, right, I like this. But in that initial, I don't know, maybe like hour. That seems like quite a long time actually. But in that initial like 45 minutes, I was like.
It was a long movie. It might have been an hour.
Yeah, and when it finally did click into place, I was like, okay, I'm on board.
I really liked it. I mean, I'm a bit of a Christopher Nolan fangirl. Surprisingly, Batman, I'm like well into that trilogy for someone that hates all superhero movies. So I feel like I went into Tenet already going, I'm gonna love it, even if I don't. But I did like it, so you know, it was fine.
What's your favorite Nolan film, Zoe? Because I'm a big Nolan fan as well. This one wasn't for me.
You know what? I actually recently did a letterboxed ranking of all the Nolan films because I watched every single film that he's done, which I'm telling you now is something I never ever do because I'm like, why would I watch all the movies of a director? And surprisingly, my number 1 film is Interstellar.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
I like Interstellar, so yeah. I think the only Nolan film I'm not particularly sold on is Dunkirk.
Wow.
I wasn't particularly into that. I'm not sure what it was. I mean, I can appreciate it from like a filmmaking standpoint, and I like the interweaving, crossing time scales. What was it, like an hour in the sky and however long? I appreciate that, but I don't know, just something about it didn't quite grab me. I didn't feel that tense, you know, the ticking clock, which obviously mainly because of the Hans Zimmer scores in these movies, but this sort of tense, you're like, oh, where's it going? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Dunkirk's a weird one structurally as well. Like, as you were saying, it doesn't really feel like a movie to me. I actually really enjoyed it. I went to see it in the IMAX, and it was kind of like a ride, weirdly. You know, it was like so immersive, and there's the scene when the boat gets hit by the torpedoes or something and goes down, and you're right in there with them. And in the IMAX, it was like I almost had a panic attack during that scene because it was just so much to take in, just overstimulated with your entire field of vision is just this sinking boat, and you're right in there with them, and the music and the score. I really enjoyed it, but it was way more like a theme park ride than a film for me. I thought. I don't know if that's a good way of describing it, but that's what it felt like. I liked it, but my favorite's definitely Inception. Inception I rewatched this year, and I think it's a perfect 5 out of 5 star movie. I absolutely love it.
I went to the. Did you go to the anniversary screening of that this year? They showed it on the big screen again.
No, I just watched it.
I think it's hard to say with the Nolan stuff. It's hard to say because you've got Interstellar, which feels a lot more like a spiritual experience in terms of where it goes, and then Inception, which is like a really good action movie, and then something like Memento, which is a great character study. I've got a lot of love for Insomnia as well. Something about Insomnia just makes me feel really uneasy in the best possible way. You know, just Robin Williams being a killer, and the fact that like the sun never goes down. It's just like you kind of feel it all the way along with Al Pacino. You're just like, God, just let him go to sleep for God's sake. just let him get 40 winks.
Insomnia, but let him go to sleep, please.
Let him go to sleep. I can't handle it. And I think the Batman trilogy is pretty much perfect as well. I've got a lot of love for the Dark Knight Rises as well, and a lot of people think that's not so strong compared to the others, but they're all badass.
Good.
They're all badass. It's good.
Interesting. A little deviation into Nolan there, no bad thing. What's on anyone else's list of movies that came out this year that you enjoyed or think are worth mentioning here?
I'm gonna throw one in the ring, and I'm not gonna get to because we're speaking about horror, so I'm actually gonna go, and seeing as you stole one of mine, John, I'm gonna add a different one in. It's not a horror, it's like a comedy film, and it's Dinner in America, which I don't know if either of you have seen.
I've never even heard of it. I'm gonna Google it as you're talking about it now.
It's probably one of the best films I've ever seen. It's like a coming of age punk love story, funnily enough, by Adam Raymeyer, who did a really extreme experimental film called The Bunny Game, which is still banned in the UK. Actually, it's very, very extreme. But then he's gone on and done this beautiful comedy film, and honestly, I've never connected with a film quite as much as that. And it stars Kyle Gallner and Emily Skeggs, and they are just on screen. They have this amazing chemistry, and if you like character-driven stories that are, I don't know, takes you back to your youth, where it's like awkward teenagers falling in love, doing stupid shit, you're gonna love this. Honestly, like 5 out of 5 for me. I'd give it a 6 if possible. I could not fault it. It was amazing.
Oh wow. This is
Kyle
why I love
Gallner.
This is why I love doing things like this, because I hadn't heard of this, and I might never have heard of it if we hadn't spoken about it here. So it's definitely going on my list.
Kyle Gallner is in Jennifer's Body, isn't he?
He is
I
indeed.
watched that recently.
Yeah, I got to speak with him recently, and yeah, I mean, he's in a shit ton of horror movies.
Wow.
So
just looking at his filmography now, he's in loads of stuff. Cool. Yeah, I've never heard of that before, so I will definitely add it to the list.
One for your list.
Nice.
What's on yours, Ben? What's been one of the films from 2020 you've liked?
I'm looking now. I have made so I have seen a lot in 2020, like a lot of new stuff, because I have made a top 25 movies of 2020. It's got some questionable inclusions on there, but I will talk about what shall I choose here? Oh, there's loads I'm loving. There's a few like I've seen recently, which I'm not gonna go into, but I'll just give a very, very quick honourable mention, and if that's allowed. Is that allowed?
Of course.
Anything's allowed.
Just because I don't want to miss these out. So I recently saw Freaky, the Blumhouse, and it looks like it's possibly going to be a bit naff, but I absolutely loved it. We discussed it on a podcast a couple of weeks ago. It's like a great meta slasher. Vince Vaughn is awesome. Like, it's actually genuinely funny. And even though it kind of rips off, Freaky Friday and Friday the 13th, it's a perfect amalgamation of those films. I love that. That was good. I really like Sound of Metal. I saw you mention this, Zoe. I saw you mention that you wanted to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started watching it, I was like, oh, God, this is a bit pretentious. I'm not particularly into this so much. Who do these guys think they are? And then as soon as we took like the music element out of it and focused on like the deaf community and like what the support that this guy was getting as he was losing his hearing and sort of everything, the sound design that kind of represents that as well, I was like so emotional during it. Like, I'm pretty much a cold, empty husk of a person, but I felt a little tear for him, and I was like, don't you dare even show weakness. And I really loved it. And Riz Ahmed, like, if he's anywhere near the like awards season for like best actor for that film, it'll be very impressive. Well deserved. Sorry, not impressive. Well deserved. But I guess the one I'm going to talk about. Sorry, I've just gone careening in with those two.
Go for it, Ben.
But the one I'm going to talk about is something that affected me so deeply in a way I couldn't even begin to put into words, and it was so unexpected. I did not expect this to affect me the way it did. But the documentary "You Cannot Kill David Arquette," which is about David Arquette returning to the professional wrestling business after appearing in like the early 2000s, late 90s in a bit of a jokey manner, and the business kind of like completely blacklisted him because of it. And then he made a movie called Ready to Rumble, which again, the wrestling business kind of looked down their nose at. But this is a film that I just like. The fact that he's obviously famous for, appearing in movies in the 90s like Scream, but seeing his journey into doing something that a lot of people around him, even though those he loves, were sort of like, why are you doing this again? What are you trying to prove? And it just felt like it was a great like human story, and it showed a side to him that like I really appreciated seeing, but also a side to the wrestling business, the independent wrestling business as well. He goes to Mexico and like does a lot of luchador wrestling stuff. He does like wrestling in the streets, like in the traffic.
Oh wow.
It's like, it just felt like it was a love letter. Like, I've been a huge wrestling fan like most of my life, but it felt like a real love letter to the business, and just like real fun. Like, I can't think of a more fun way to spend 90 minutes and come away thinking, even if you think I hate David Arquette, you will come away from it thinking I love David Arquette.
It's been on my Amazon Prime queue or list or watch list or whatever it's called for a while, but I haven't seen it yet. But now I'm definitely going to. Now I'm going to come out of this with so many movies to watch, and my watch list is already kind of unbearably long. But
it's a great underdog story, I think even if you don't have any interest in the wrestling business, which a lot of people who watch it probably won't, I think it's just great. It's a great little documentary, and it's sort of you sort of look into his career a little bit as well, like sort of where he kind of feels like it went wrong, how he's kind of trying to claw his way back to relevancy, but he kind of accepts, maybe I won't ever get there. So I'm gonna have a damn good time while I play out the rest of my career.
I didn't even know he did wrestling. So...
Yeah, he turned up in like WCW in the early 2000s, and he won like the main championship.
Oh wow!
And everybody hated it because it was kind of like a tie-in to the film. And of course, people were saying it drags the name of the business in the mud. Just a random actor turning up and winning the biggest prize essentially. And he kind of like the whole industry like shunned him.
Oh,
and this is kind
David.
of him. This is kind of him like proving it. He's going, no, I can do it. I can be a wrestler, and I can be awesome.
Good for him. I like
that. Good for him. It's a lovely story.
Huh, okay. Yeah, I've never seen him wrestle. I did know that he had wrestled a long time ago, because that was around the time. Maybe that was just a tiny bit after when I was really, really into it in a big way, and then I drifted away from wrestling for a while, for a few years, and I recently kind of got back into it with AEW and stuff like that. But I've never seen David Arquette wrestle, so it'd be interesting just to watch it for that.
It's a good time.
Alone.
If you're gonna watch anything, just search for, I can't remember who he's wrestling, but just search David Arquette death match, and your mind will be blown.
Okay. Okay. I love a death match, so I'll do it. What am I going to say? So I will reel off a couple that I don't really have too much to talk about, but I kind of enjoyed. There was Sputnik. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That came out this year that I'd forgotten about because I was going through my letterbox to see what I had been watching, and yeah, it was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. I don't know anything about the director or anything about the cast. It's a Russian production, but it was a fun movie. I'm a big sci-fi horror fan, and to be honest, there's not that many sci-fi horror movies out there. I think it's a neglected genre. So
Yeah.
when one comes along, I know we have some absolutely phenomenal sci-fi horror movies. I mean, some of the best horror movies ever made, Alien, for example, The Thing, they are sci-fi horror. But there's some huge names in that subgenre. And then there's not a whole lot else. You can get through the kind of sci-fi horror genre fairly quickly. So it's always nice when something new comes out. And this is a lovely sort of space horror that I got into. Another one that I'd forgotten about, but I just scrolled past it there the now, was I think this came out this year. I'm actually just going to check in case it didn't come out in 2020. It actually came out last year, but to hell with it. You're going to wonder what I was going to say. There's a movie called Get Duked. Have you guys heard of Get Duked?
Someone, we were on a work call and someone was like, you like horror movies, there's this one about these kids that go on a Duke of Edinburgh trip.
Yes.
And it turns into a horror movie, and I was like, that cannot be a real movie, I think you were mistaken.
It's a
Wow.
real movie. I've seen it. It did come out, technically it came out in 2019 according to Letterboxd, so maybe I shouldn't be mentioning it, but I found it a lot of fun. It's like, yeah, a British comedy horror. Now, some of the jokes really don't land, but the ones that do and the story make it worthwhile, I think. Yeah, Zoe described it perfectly. It is a Duke of Edinburgh Awards expedition with these 4 guys. It's got a big hip hop, like British hip hop vibe going on in it, and they're trekking through the wilderness, and this huntsman played by, is that a spoiler if I say who it's played by? I'm not sure if it is a spoiler. Maybe it is. Oh, fuck it. Eddie Izzard plays the huntsman.
So just looking at the cast, and Eddie Izzard was the one that jumped out to me.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think
incredible.
that's a spoiler. But it's fantastic. And Alice Lowe is also in it. Now, she only has really a cameo appearance. It's a tiny, tiny part. But I absolutely adore Alice Lowe, and she completely steals this movie. It is worth it just to see her, I think. So that gets an honorable mention from me. I have one more. I have a couple more honorable mentions. I don't know if I can talk about this too much, but one that I am going to talk about, it's not really horror. It's more action movie. A Netflix action movie called The Old Guard. Did anyone see that?
Charlize Theron?
That is correct. Charlize Theron is in it.
Didn't see it, unfortunately.
I really, really enjoyed it. It was just one of those movies that popped up on Netflix. We were all in lockdown. I'd sort of run out of things to watch. I wasn't particularly enthused by it, to be honest. I didn't think it. I don't know why. I just was kind of indifferent to it. I hadn't seen the trailer or anything, but it popped up on my Netflix home screen, and one night I was sitting and I thought, okay, I fancy a bit of action. I'll put it on. And like we were talking earlier about Possessor, how you can tell very quickly in a movie if it's going to click with you or if it's just made to a level that you know the people behind the camera and the people in front of the camera know what they're doing. They know how to make a movie, because so often, especially in certain genres, it does happen in horror. You know, you can kind of feel, there's something about the way this movie is shot. There's something about
many horrors like that where you put it on and you go, I might just get that time back now.
Yeah. exactly. But straight away from the offset, you know you're in safe hands with the Old Guard. It's got some really great action in it. It's got some really great characters. Obviously, Charlize Theron is a big name. There's a couple other people you would recognize in the cast, but maybe not know their name, or maybe not quite be able to pinpoint exactly what you've seen them in before. And everyone's cast so well. It's absolutely worth checking out. There's also a thing that happens. I can't go into it because it's a little bit of a spoiler, but they set up a sequel in it, and the setup for the sequel is just so good. I was kind of disappointed that you didn't see it in this one. I'm not a huge fan when they set up a sequel and you have to wait God knows how many years for it to come along, or even you're not even sure if the sequel's ever going to come, and they've set this character up that's going to be a returning character. But it's such a great setup. I can't go into it without spoiling it, but definitely check out The Old Guard. So that's a couple of mentions from me. They're all
lovely. Lovely. I haven't seen The Old Guard, but I have got it on a list somewhere, I think. I just heard kind of like mixed reviews, so I wasn't too sure about checking it out, but now you've given it the thumbs up. Maybe I'll go for it.
I thought it was a lot of fun.
It's a comic book adaptation, is it not?
Oh, I didn't know that. If it was, maybe.
No, I'm not 100% sure on that.
I think having a look now, I think it's a comic book adaptation.
Sweet.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Does anyone have any others on their list?
I have a few. I've got a few. So in terms of honourable mentions, I've got Swallow, which... Hello,
hey.
Luke's here.
Hello. Here he is.
So I've just jumped in. Everything all right?
Just jump on in, man.
We're so happy to see you. We are recording, just to let you know. But it's great to see you, man.
Cool. Okay, I'll be quiet. Continue with what you do. Sorry.
We are talking about movies that came out in 2020 that we enjoyed, and Zoe is going through hers, and she just said the name, and I can't believe I forgot this movie.
Actually, next on my list.
Is it?
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if it came out in 2020 because, I'm sure you'll all agree that this year feels like it's been 20 years. But it did come out, I think it was January some point, and it was Swallow, which... I mean, very weird film, but I think I actually took a lot away from it. I know it caused a lot of controversy. I saw there was a great argument on Twitter with some guy with like, I don't understand how a girl just swallowing random fucking things can make a movie. It's bullshit. And everyone was like, okay, right, you do you. So that was my honourable mention. Then I've got His House, which came out on Netflix, which I thought was incredible and very, very scary, actually. There was quite a few points in that film where I was like, I never want to move into a house ever again that's not this one that I already know is not creepy as fuck. But yeah, really incredibly well acted, and obviously it raises a lot of great, societal issues in it. Then another honourable mention was one I watched quite recently called Rent-a-Pal, which was a bit of a random. I went, looks all right. And do you know what? I actually was pleasantly surprised by how good it was. Ben, I feel like you've seen this.
No, I haven't seen it, but as soon as you said it, it made me sort of remember that I'd seen like lots about it, but I haven't actually seen it now.
I don't think I've even heard of it. Rent-a-Pal.
Yeah, it's like I think it's quite like an indie film, but I found it on I think it was on Rakuten. But yeah, I really recommend it actually.
What on earth is Rakuten? Yeah.
Oh, it's another streaming site, and I get for free from work, and they have Possessor on there, so it's a good streaming site, and it's all legal as well. It's not one of my dodgy ones. Not that I do that. And then the one that I actually wanted to talk about was The Painted Bird, which I'm not sure if it's classified as a horror film. It's more of a historical film, but a lot of people suggested it to me because they were like, it's potentially one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen. And it's about a young boy in World War II, and we basically follow him as he encounters different people and different scenarios, and I mean, it gets quite dark, and the things that he goes through and he sees other people put through, is very violent. You know, it's got a lot of torture, it's got rape, it's got war crimes. It's quite a grueling watch, and I think it's around about 2.5 to 3 hours. But it's stunning. It's all in black and white, and the cinematography is out of this world. But I would say it's something you've got to be in the mood for. I watched it about like 8 a.m. and I was like, I have just set up the day for misery, pure misery. But I would really recommend it.
I mean, I can see a couple of the screenshots, and you can sort of tell that it's going to be a tough watch. But they all look like kind of horrendously beautiful, like in a weird way. That's the only way I can sort of describe it. I'll definitely check that out as well.
It's quite a famous harrowing book, I think.
Yeah, it is. I think they also did, I think based off the same book was Come and See.
I really want to watch that. That's quite a bit to me.
I've heard a lot about that.
I haven't braced it yet. There's only so much kind of war atrocities that you can go through in a week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still haven't recovered from the last movie you recommended to me, Zoe, but we won't go into that because subscribers to A Nice Chianti will soon learn what that movie is. Jesus Christ, it was a hard watch. Look, we're talking about movies that came out in 2020. We've already mentioned a couple, and just so that we're not putting you on the spot in case you don't have any in mind, I'm going to mention one that I can't believe we haven't mentioned already, and I'm pretty sure that Luke might have something to say about this movie as well. I know we've all seen it, but somehow it hasn't come up. It's the biggest movie of the year. It's a horror movie. It's Host, of course.
Oh, okay.
We haven't spoken about it.
Oh,
but,
John,
I mean,
you're a fangirl for it.
I loved Host so much. Yeah, I've been talking to you, Zoe, and texting you about it for so long because we were supposed to be going to a couple of screenings of it, but it never happened, unfortunately. And yeah, keep on going on about it, but I just love it so much. And look, you've got you know some of the people involved in making it, right?
Yeah, I know Rob. I've met Rob a couple of times in some cafes and talked about films and that. He's a great guy. I've always said, if anyone's going to be massive, it's going to be Rob Savage. Like, he's just an incredibly talented filmmaker. I don't think Host, although I like Host, I don't think it quite shows off his talents as well. Because it's told through a screen. He's a beautiful filmmaker. Like, he can make great stuff out of nothing. So I'm not surprised that he's now got like 3 films with Blumhouse and whatever. He's got like 6 films lined up. Host, I like Host. I wouldn't say it blew my mind. I think it's a great film. I think it does what it does very, very well. It's a great fun house ride, I would say. Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool film. It's not my favorite of 2020. I'm not too sure what would be. I'm just having a quick look now.
I think that Host was, because I went into it, it was one of those ones that completely surpassed my expectations because I didn't know the filmmaker. I didn't know Rob Savage before it. I don't know him, but I didn't know of him. And it was just one of those things. Oh, it's a Zoom horror movie. I'd seen the viral video on Twitter and thought that is a fun video, but I didn't think it would be feature. Well, not that Host is feature length,
the biggest film of the year at one point, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I went into it thinking because we were all in lockdown, and I thought the last thing I need to see is a lockdown horror right now because I'm living a lockdown horror. And then I watched it and I was so blown away, and I couldn't have been more wrong with that original thought. I loved it.
So are you guys just going through your favorite of that came out this year?
Yeah, we're just talking about anything that comes up. We went off on a Christopher Nolan tangent at one point, but whatever
Okay,
you want to throw out. Have you got any that
Well,
you're?
I saw one this week that I really liked. I don't even know if it's horror. It's probably more on the sort of on the borderline of genres. It's called Spontaneous, and it's about it's a kind of a send up of the sort of the modern teen drama 13 Reasons Why sort of genre. It's about kids in a school who start to spontaneously combust, and and like all of them are going. They don't know why it's happening, but everyone in this one class is like they're popping like balloons, like really gory. The blood like explodes everywhere, and it's just it doesn't have a reason for it, and it's just them trying to get on with why it's because they're all going to die at some point. It plays into those sort of teenage leaving school sort of themes.
Does everybody react to it happening as if it's a terrible thing, or is it just
Yeah. It's
okay.
It's cool. It's really sweet and really emotional. Like or even though it's a kind of send up of that genre, it still hits the same notes. It still makes you feel kind of sad and like soppy at times. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Scare Me. Have you talked about Scare Me yet?
No, we haven't.
No.
Have you seen Scare Me, Zoe?
No, I haven't. No.
You've seen it, right, John?
No, I
Have you
have
seen Scare
not.
Me? Oh, it's on Shudder. It was a Shudder original, and it came out around the same time as Host. So I think it probably got buried a little bit. But it's Josh Rubin and Aya Cash, and they're kind of getting drunk, drinking red wine, I think,
Perfect.
and telling each other scary stories. It's not really a horror movie. It sort of is, but it isn't really. But it's just if you're a fan of horror movies, it's for you. Like it's for people trying to sort of spook each other with different genres of horror movies and stuff like that. And if you're a fan of horror movies, like I can't see how you won't love it. And it's got some of my favorite moments in film in the past few years. It's it's a lot of fun.
I've seen it. I recognize the poster now.
Yeah.
And Aya Cash she's the one from The Boys season 2, right?
Yeah.
In front, yeah.
She's so good in The Boys.
She's so good.
I will check that out.
So good at like making you hate her.
Yeah. Well, that's why
Yeah.
she's so good. Did everyone watch The Boys here? I know this is a tangent and it's not really
Yeah, man.
horror.
Yeah.
Did season 2? Because I was slightly concerned about season 2 because season 1 was so strong, and I'm thinking back to like the last big Amazon Prime show that I loved was American Gods, and I had to stop halfway through season 2 of that because season 2 was not working for me at all. I loved season 1 and season 2. It just lost me. So I was really concerned going into The Boys season 2. But I think season 2 might actually be better than season 1. Is that a controversial statement?
It is controversial. It is because I thought it was okay, not as good apart from the last episode, which was better than most of the episodes of season 1. It is a good season.
I think I agree with you, John. I think season 2 was better. After watching season 1, I kind of like got off the bandwagon a bit. I was like, I'm not really too bothered about season 2. I feel like season 1 did enough for me. Season 2, I can kind of see what kind of direction it's going to go in, and I didn't feel too excited by it. And I watched like one episode, and I was like, oh my god, I love it. oh my god, I love it. And I think they just added enough. It's like it kept the same sort of stuff in the first season, but it added enough for it to kind of feel like fresh. And every single episode, I feel like there were enough holy fuck moments, which I think a show like The Boys needs that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes some shows can feel like they kind of they rely on that too heavily, like the story's going nowhere. Here's a holy fuck moment, where I think the Boys adds to holy fuck moments, but the story progresses and grows in a way.
Yeah,
really gory as well. Super gory at times.
Super gory, and that final episode was insane. And again, like when you've got characters that you love to hate, I just feel like it's so much more satisfying than characters you genuinely love. I think when I actually hate characters, I just feel so much more satisfied coming away from a show like that.
Yeah, the kind of the villains in The Boys are absolutely despicable, and you just cannot believe what they're doing. You should check. I think you might like it, Zoe. I'm not sure if it's definitely your cup of tea, but oh my goodness,
I've seen a lot of people who aren't fans of of any superhero genre that do enjoy The Boys. It's almost like a nice, refreshing take on it. It's kind of like, it is a send up of the genre in a way, but you know,
Yeah, I
it's
had
so
to
it's
recommend
so
it.
it's so
Sorry,
over
Ben.
the top and so ridiculous that it's just great. I love it.
I think my boyfriend would like it a lot.
Yeah.
But at the moment we're just trying to finish Schitt's Creek. We literally discovered it, and we've got, I think, like 4 episodes left. So at the moment, I've wiped the slate clean. I'm like, no movies, no nothing. I want to get this done first. But perhaps maybe I'll watch the first episode of The Boys and see how it is. I have heard really good things.
Yeah,
Good
well,
times.
I
Good
recommended it
times.
to someone, and I said, "Oh, it's sort of a superhero show," and immediately I saw their eyes rolling, and I was like, "No, it's not really a superhero show, but it kind of is. It's difficult to explain. You just have to watch it." I'm in the market for another show right now as well because I just finished The Mandalorian, which is what I was watching. I think I'm going to go on to Vikings next, though.
It's a long one,
Everyone's
isn't
been
it?
talking.
A lot of seasons of that, right?
Yeah, but everyone's been recommending it to me, and I don't know. I think that's something that I'm going to have to check out. I know that's a tangent. We haven't been talking about Vikings.
Have me and Luke recommended Primal to you, John?
Oh, mate. Primal might be one of the best things I've seen all year. Honestly,
man.
It's so good.
Yeah, okay. I'd forgotten about Primal. I want to see Primal. Where can I watch it?
It's on all 4. So
Okay.
it's part of all the Adult Swim stuff that's on Channel 4.
Okay.
But just watch the first 10 minutes, so you won't be able to stop. Like, it's just
It's
so
pretty
engaging.
much like that,
No
yeah.
dialogue, but you can't stop watching it.
I guess with no spoilers, how did you find the Mandalorian season finale?
Okay. No spoilers. I have a lot of thoughts about this. You're opening a can of worms here. I loved season 2. Season 2 was way stronger than season 1 for me until the last 10 minutes of the final episode.
Yeah.
And then it
The
lost me.
deep fake stuff that threw you out. Yeah.
No, actually, no, that's not what threw me out. I can handle bad CGI, like that's fine. I think that Disney, of all the companies, should be able to do better than what they served up in that final
Say
5
that, but
minutes.
here's Luke's. Sorry.
Oh.
The guy's face. Talking about myself. Luke's face
The guy.
watching the program, which is me.
It wasn't believable. It looked like a deep fake to me.
He is very non-emotive in the film that he's in with that
Okay.
those clothes. So
That's
not that it's passable, but I don't think that helps.
that's not the reason. The reason is, and I'm trying to talk about it without going spoilery. The reason, there's a character that turns up. That's not a spoiler to say that was a surprise to a lot of people, and a lot of people are really excited about it. And I'm happy for them. I'm not trying to shit all over anyone's excitement, but the way that it happened, it just doesn't make any sense to me. He turns up, and we've got Mando, who's been looking after this adorable character for 2 seasons and been very, very protective of him. And then someone turns up who he doesn't know.
In black clothes, which is never a good sign in the Star Wars universe.
Doesn't introduce himself, and he just hands him over. He just goes, "Yeah, I trust you. That's fine." We all know who he is. It's like fan service, right? Which I typically don't. I have a problem with it. If it doesn't work in the story, I just don't get it, and it really doesn't. If you actually separate, if you watch that episode, I think, and again, if anyone out there is listening, if some of you guys loved it, I'm not trying to talk you out of that. But I think if you watch that scene and go, okay, what is Mando and the other characters actually thinking right now? It doesn't make any sense what plays out. It's all for the audience, and when that happens, I just don't like it.
As a series, there was enough fan service prior to this, almost too much, I would feel like, that it didn't need another moment of fan service. They'd already brought back, and again, not trying to spoil anything, they'd already brought back a huge character.
Oh yeah,
who
that's true.
a lot of
Yeah,
people
put on some
had.
weight.
He was absolutely massive. He'd been eating all the space pies.
Wumpers.
And,
I like how they made up loads of new aliens just to say stuff. Oh, you backside of a fridge, Majoo. Like they're coming out with loads of crap. Never read of that before.
there was so much fan service already that I feel like it didn't need to take it to the next level of fan service. It felt like it didn't. What I love about this show and what I've loved about this show is the Saturday morning cartoon planet hopping monster of the week feel of it. It just feels like a cool adventure. And I actually even said to somebody prior to the inclusion of this character, but prior to the inclusion of another character as well, I was like, I kind of like watching something Star Wars where there's no Force and Jedis and.
That's why I like Rogue One so much.
Yeah,
Rogue One's
I
so
thought it felt refreshing, and I still enjoyed it. Here he is.
Hey, Andy's here.
Here he is.
The whole gang's here.
The whole gang's here.
One thing to add on the Mando thing, without spoiling, there's a guy who takes off his hat in the last episode, and he also takes it off in the episode before, and I think it would have been much more powerful if he took his hat off in the very last episode only.
Yeah. You're gonna take that hat off or not? No, I've got hat hair. I'm sorry.
That's a real world problem. Hey, there you go.
It's not for me, mate.
I mean, look at this. I've been wearing a hat out on this walk, and look at the state of this. Jeez.
You look so handsome there.
It looked like it was all slicked back when you had your headphones on. I was kind of digging it.
I was digging it. I thought you had. I thought you had
West
slick
Gully.
back hair. I thought you had slick back hair and a turtleneck for a second. I was like,
I-
who's this guy?
I do have a turtleneck on.
Maximum respect to you.
Yeah.
It's actually a good thing that Andy's come in now because you've disrupted chat about the Mandalorian, and I could see that Zoe was totally just not interested at all about that.
Right.
Look, I mean, you know me. I'm not a Star Wars person. I was offered by my boyfriend to watch The Mandalorian, and I was like, you do you. I'm not gonna watch that. I pop in now and again to see, Grogu because he's cute, but that's enough Star Wars for me. It's just not my
You know the name.
You've already beaten me, Zoe, in the fact that you've registered that name. He's Baby Yoda forever. You can't undo it.
Yeah.
That was one of those things you're like, it's good if we have our own things too, right?
I feel, Andy, we've been talking about movies that we like in 2020. I don't know how much longer we'll go on, but do you have any 2020 movies that you want to talk about that we might have mentioned them, but maybe everyone surprised me actually by rocking out, not to put any pressure on Andy, but you've all surprised me by bringing out some stuff that I hadn't even heard of, and my list is growing. But anyway.
I imagine everyone will have mentioned, I think, the Belle of the Ball this year is probably host just because it was everyone's life this year. That was great. That was what got me to sign up for Shudder finally. Other than that, actually, the other things that I've recently heard about are things that I am hearing are fantastic, but I haven't got round to watching yet. One of the main ones being Nothing Sleeps in the Woods Tonight. Apparently it's a Polish horror movie. It's on Netflix, and apparently it's great. It's like a slasher movie. I used to live in Poland for a little while, so I'm going to check its authenticity and watch it at some point.
Oh, Andy, you have not disappointed. You've given me another movie for my list. This is perfect. I haven't seen it. Has anyone seen that? Apart.
No, I think I saw it pop up a couple of times, and I was like, it's either going to be really good or really shit. But maybe check it out.
No, in between.
The other one I've heard going around recently is it the Wolf of something Hollow?
Snow Hollow.
Yeah. Or something. Yeah, this is on my list as well because people have been going crazy for this movie. I really want to see it. Oh, hold on, Zoe's seen it.
I've seen it.
It's good, but it's not. I didn't think it was amazing. I think because he reprised his role from Thunder Road, and I love Thunder Road. Just don't know what you think, Ben, but just didn't seem to fit in that setting.
Is it a sequel? Is it in the same universe, as it were?
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Weird is definitely the right word to describe this. I really liked it. I thought it was a great sort of horror comedy, because it's so easy to get horror comedies wrong, isn't it? Probably more so as a comedy. I found myself sort of chuckling along rather than being invested in any of the horror elements. But I love werewolves. Like, in any sort of movie about a werewolf, I always feel like no matter how naff it is, it kind of gets elevated a little bit more because it's got a werewolf in it, and I think it was great. I can't really describe much about it without potentially spoiling certain elements, but yeah, I liked it.
Cool.
There you go.
Yeah, but
There you go.
that's
That's it.
It's mostly been old stuff this year, not only because everything's cancelled and there hasn't been as much new stuff, but actually I think horror is one of the few areas where we have had still a decent amount of new things, right?
Yeah.
Especially on streaming services and so on. I guess because they don't put as many millions of dollars into them.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff happening in the small budget space with horror, more so than other places. Here's a final question just before we go over and do this quiz, which I'm nervous about. Since 2020 happened, what was the big movie of 2020 for everyone, if there is one, that you were looking forward to that's been pushed back? What have you not seen at this stage because of COVID and you're still waiting for? I will go first to give you a little bit of time to think. For me, there's only one. It's the Dune movie. Dune was going to come out, and I'm a big fan of the book. I'm even a fan of the Lynch movie. I'm a massive fan. Blade Runner 2049 or whatever it was called. I forget the number, but I just adored that movie so much. It's one of my favorite films. I think I did like a top 50 list of the decade or something last year, from 2010 to 2019, and that was my number one movie. So whatever he's going to do, I'm sort of on board for, and I'm very, very sad that we're not watching that this December. Is there anything else?
Candyman for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Me too.
it was all lining up for the Clive Barker Renaissance, and
Luke
then it all
Kondor
kind of
predicted Clive Barker
Luke
Renaissance.
The Luke Kondor sponsored Clive Barker.
and it's not going to happen, is it? Or maybe it'll be a bit delayed. I feel like
Now
it's taking
you
some of
look
the energy
crazy.
out of it. No, I look crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Oh wow.
I haven't seen Books of Blood. I haven't seen that yet. Was that any
Oh.
good?
No.
It's not very Books of. It doesn't really feel like a Books of Blood adaptation.
Oh, okay.
If you're
It's
a fan
not
of the
very
book of Blood.
Not very Books of Bloody, no.
Oh.
Not very Clive Barker. There's maybe like one or two moments which feel like classic Clive Barker, and Anna Friel's in it. That's probably like the most recognizable name. That's exactly the reaction I had.
From
Zoe.
Brookside.
Anna Friel turned up,
Why?
and I went, oh right.
Just goes
Oh, right.
downhill.
There
You
you
know
go.
what?
Things I kind of was looking forward to Godzilla versus Kong.
Oh,
I had a feeling that was going to be badass, and of course Ghostbusters Afterlife as well. Because after watching that teaser trailer, the teaser trailer more so than the actual trailer that came out, but as soon as we hear certain sound effects and the voiceover of Bill Murray and the soundtrack, exactly the score, I got goosebumps, and I was like, oh, I cannot wait for that. It's gonna be badass. So looking forward to when that eventually does come out.
yeah, I'd forgotten about Godzilla versus Kong actually, because Kong Skull Island was so good. So good.
Good, real good.
I was really surprised by Skull Island. It was a different type of movie than I was expecting, especially after Peter Jackson's King Kong, which does good stuff, but not the kind of thing I would have wanted.
Yeah.
I'm probably standing in defense of like Godzilla movies more than a lot of people would, because I unironically love them. King of the Monsters was a lot of fun because there are less people in it, and more good monsters stomping around. When Godzilla versus Kong comes out, though, totally Team Godzilla.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Did everyone go? I don't want to miss out on anyone. What was it? Andy, did you have another movie that was 2020?
The only other one, apart from the ones folks have mentioned, and I know so little about it, but just from the trailer, it looked so intriguing. The Green Knight looks mad.
Yeah.
And that was something that visually I really wanted to just see, and I think that is one I wouldn't want to see that turn up on streaming. It feels like that is a cinema film.
Yeah, I'd forgotten it was called The Green
Right,
Knight.
yeah.
I was like, what's The Green Knight? But then as soon as I saw the pics from it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. Well, I guess, a few of us have got fairly well-oiled in preparation for this quiz. So this has been the pre-drink show that's going to go out in the Chianti feed. We'll put this out around the same time as the quiz. But if you're listening to this, one of our Chianti listeners, head on over to Hawk and Cleaver's Horror Hangout podcast, which I believe is acast.com/horror hangout, right?
The horror hangout for some reason.
Oh, John, come on.
I know. I'm so embarrassed right now.
Well, that is confusing.
Getting things prepositions wrong is as bad as getting pronouns wrong. You'll be cancelled in no time.
It's going to happen. Crinan is cancelled. This is it. Hashtag
Crinan is cancelled. Merry Christmas, mate. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. There's already been enough C words flying around in our private WhatsApp chat. Yeah. Let's not
we'll add cancelled
well.
to that list.
Nobody fully committed to a certain C word though, and I was a bit like, can I just drop it in there? No,
you should have, Ben. You should have.
Yeah, I'm Scottish. I hear it. I hear it every day.
We'll save it for the next podcast recording, which is happening in a minute.
Yes. Okay. It's all going to be in the show notes. This is going to go out. There's no structure here. Come on over and see how everyone does in the quiz. Thanks for listening, everyone. And to my guests, some of you just snuck in the nick of time at the end there. To our guests. Sorry, Zoe, not my guests.
That's all right. I'm the secondary guest. Not guest, host.
I'm number 2 here, definitely. Thank you all for joining us. Let's do it.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.